Hey, and welcome to Bush Kiddz. Hope you're all well. We've got another challenge for you tonight, and that is we're going to look at giving you some inspiration to build your own little survival kit. Now, as its name suggests, if you've got a survival kit, it's about helping you to survive. Now, the chances of you getting into trouble at any point are fairly slim if you keep close to your parents. But a survival kit is not just about emergency situations where you need to survive, but it's also about just having some things there handy that if at any point you're caught short with certain things, like lighting a fire or cutting some wood or boiling water, then you've got something to hand that's really compact that you can use at any time. So the challenge is, we're going to show you a couple of survival kits. We're going to tell you what's in the survival kits, and the challenge is to build your own. Think about what you want in your survival kit and then build it out, and then show us what you've built and send us your posts, and have that count towards your challenges. Okay, so we've got a couple of survival kits here. One that I've had a very long time actually. This is probably about 10 or 15 years old. Just been tucked away in the bottom of my kit somewhere, and one I bought a couple of years ago, which is a BCB survival kit in a waterproof bag. So we're going to have a look at both of those. So this first one comes in a little what's known as a tobacco tin, and that's useful in itself, because having a tin like this means that you can keep things dry in it, but also you can put water in the tin and boil the water to purify it. So it's always worth having something to boil water in as part of survival kit. So let's have a look inside. And the first thing that we have here is a survival saw actually, and these are pretty flexible, and they essentially, when you unravel them, you can hold both ends and you can make sure when it opens, so you hold on to both ends of this, and you then move it across the piece of wood to cut it. So that's pretty useful in terms of some way of cutting up wood. Got a some details in here on how to use your survival kit. A little bit of an accident evaluation report if you've got something there. You've got some details around, this is an old BCB one as well, around what to do. Some different things around fire and clothes and protection and all those kind of things, which is useful if you get yourself into trouble. We've got some safety pins, obviously can be used for a whole bunch of things. Fishing hook, holding things together, getting splinters out your fingers, all of those things, so that's pretty useful. Got some matches. Obviously you want to make a fire if you can, and if you can have 2 or 3 ways of making a fire, that's always good. Matches are going to run out, so and may get damp, so you need to be careful about getting them damp if you're in your survival kit. We've got some fishing hooks and weights and lures here, so these can be used in a survival situation to catch fish, obviously. What else we've got in here? We've got a ferrocerium. I think this is a magnesium rod actually, so we can start fire with that, and a little saw there as well. Not that you're going to get very far with that, but if you did need it, that might help. So a little ferrocerium rod alongside our matches to make fire. We've got a candle, that's good. Get the fire going, get the candle going. That can be used then as a light or a way to light fires and keep a fire going. What else we got in here? We've got a little compass, so always good. Obviously we can If we've got a wristwatch on, we'll be able to tell which way is south and then north if we've got the wristwatch on through some of the things that we've shown you already. Or we can look at using a sun stick or navigating by the stars, but also having a little compass is always useful. We have a little knife. This one looks as though it's a little bit old and rusty, but there you go. It's been around for a while. It's not very big, but it's a cutting knife and it's pretty sharp. And yeah, it's there to be used if we need it. Because it's locked, put it back that way. We've got some wire here, and this is actually used for snaring animals, like traps or snares, so need to be careful with that. There are laws around using snare wire, but useful to have in your survival kit if you really needed it. We've got some a sewing kit, and again useful if you need anything to be repaired. Some needles in there, and some cotton and some thread. Here we go, some more cotton and thread actually, which is interesting. Maybe I'll put some in over time, but there you go. Some needles, some cotton, some thread, again to fix things. What else we got in here? We have some water purification tablets. Look a bit old, but probably still do the job. And again, water is really important. If you don't have water over the course of 3 or 4 days, then you can get into real trouble. So having some water purification tablets in your survival kit is a good idea. And lastly, what we've got in here is a pencil, probably to do what we need on here and maybe make some notes around where you are and what you've been doing and how you're feeling if you're in a survival situation. So lastly, we've got the tin. And as we said right at the beginning, this tin could be used to put water over a fire and boil the water. It is pretty shiny as well, so you've got a little bit of a mirror in there as well to look at yourself. And equally, a mirror can be used as a signalling device. If you point it at the sun and flash it around, then it can be seen for quite a while. So there you go, there's our first survival kit. See if we can think about any ideas in there about the things that you would like to put in your survival kit. So all those things are back in this little tin, and this little tin could be put in the bottom of your backpack or kept around with you just in case you need it. Not necessarily for a survival situation, but just when you're caught short with specific things to make a fire or cutting wood or all those kind of things, it's just useful to have it. Okay, so let's have a look at this. This is a BCB survival kit as well, but it's actually in a waterproof bag. So let's have a look what we've got in here. So firstly, we've got a waterproof bag, and this is really useful because if it's waterproof, it can hold water inside. So you could be taking water in here and carrying that around with you. Obviously, if you put all the bits in there as well, it keeps it waterproof and dry. This is a lot bigger in terms of a survival kit, so let's have a look what's in here. First thing, we've got a ferrocerium rod in there, so that's good, with some cordage around it, some paracord cordage. We've also got a compass to put on our wrist or over our kit, and that's again a good piece of kit. We've got some shoelaces here, or cordage, so again we've got some cordage to do what we need to do and tie things up if we need it. We've got a little lamp, a little light in there, which is also useful for all the right reasons, signalling or just looking around in the dark. We've got our saw again, like we had in the other one, which is useful, and again we've seen that open. We've got a signalling whistle, and we know if you watch the emergency signals that 6 blasts on this tells people that you're in trouble and you need help. Now this is interesting, it's a signalling mirror. It can be a mirror to just check on anything that you've got wrong with you around your face, but also you can see, if I just get this in the light and signal it, you can see this reflect in the sun, and it acts as a signalling device, so that's also very, very good. Now, what's this? Well, this is interesting because we have a multi-tool, and a multi-tool means we've got multiple purposes of this tool. So we've got some pliers there, we have other things in here. Let's have a look what we've got. Oh, this is stiff. We've got a little saw, little screwdriver, we've got a little knife, and we've got a screwdriver there, Phillips screwdriver. We've got an awl, we've got a little file as well. So there's lots of little bits and bobs on here, and that's a tin opener as well. So a knife and a multi-tool in this one, which was interesting. Need to make sure that everything is nice and sharp on those though. We've got our survival instructions. You'll see this is BCB again, so it's just got some things in here around first aid and protection and such like. Lots of things in here that you can be looking at and learning from actually, and again, an evaluation if there's any accidents whilst you're out there. Matches, big matches that look as though they're waterproof, which is good, but we know with matches they'll burn out. There's only a finite amount of those, so you need to be careful on how many you use and when. This is good. It's a polyester aluminiumized emergency blanket, obviously for keeping yourself warm, but also it can be used as a shelter and put over the top of you and starts to hold off the rain and the wind, etc. So that's really a good thing. Very much the same as what we had in our first aid kit, but a great piece of survival kit there. Let's have a look what else we've got in here. Well, we've got some tape. This is like gaffer tape, and again, really useful to be fixing things or holding things together. You can, with this kind of tape, you can split it as well, so you can just take a slither off rather than the whole lot. So that's a good piece of kit as well. We've got we've got some cotton wool. We know what cotton wool does when we put a spark in it. It sets alight really quickly, so that's really good for fire tinder. And then obviously a candle as well, once we've got this alight, just to keep the fire going and give us some light. We've got, again, some fishing weights and hooks and some line in there, so that if we wanted to go fishing with our survival kit. We've got some cordage, a little bit more cordage there to help us. That can be unravelled as well to give us multiple strands if we need it. And again, we've got a sewing kit and a plastic bag, which might come useful for holding water or putting over some green leaves, so it does a process called transpiration and takes some of the water from the green leaves into the bag. Okay, so everything's back in the bag, and again, this is it's bigger than this obviously, but there's a lot more in there, and the fact that you can put it into a small bag like this and carry it around with you is really handy. Again, just put it in the back of your bag, at the bottom of your bag, and you've got all your little bits and bobs whenever you need them. So for me, one thing to think about when you're putting your your survival kit together really is a good tool. And whilst we've seen the multi-tool in there and the little knife, I think a Swiss Army knife is probably one of the best survival tools that you can have. It's really well made, and there's lots of different things on here that you can use. So we know there's a really good credible knife on there for doing things of a size. We have the ability to look at sewing with an awl if we've got some cordage that we can use. We've got the saw on here, which is a very decent saw, over and above those ones that are on a kind of on a cord. And we've got a little knife, another little knife. We've got some things for opening the cans and things for screwdrivers and stuff like that. Also some tweezers for those little splinters and such like, and a corkscrew. But I mean, it's worth having this because this is a really very good survival piece of equipment, and I would definitely recommend thinking about having a decent knife like this in your kit. We've just had these little cards done actually, which shows our website and email address on it, but also what we've done on the back is just giving you some indication of some of the things that we've been talking about. So first and foremost, if you've got this card with you, as it says at the top, if you do need it in an emergency, then that's great. Rip it up, use it as a piece of tinder and get a fire going. There's some things in here in terms of emergency signals. The survival threes, I know that some of these things in terms of 3 hours, 3 days and 3 weeks are not an exact science, but it does talk about some of the things that you should start to prioritize if you're getting into trouble. That is getting yourself out of inclement weather or nasty weather and get a shelter built. Water, obviously you need water. Really 3 or 4 days you become really poorly without water. And then food, you can really last probably up to about 2 to 3 weeks. So shelter first, water second, food third, and then just some things to remember, the kind of things that you probably need: fire starting equipment for cutting, like a Swiss Army knife, something to boil your water in, some kind of emergency shelter, or be able to make an emergency shelter with some cordage, and then obviously rope or cordage as it says here. So just some little things on the back, and if you drop us a line and nominate yourself to be a ranger, we'll get one of these things out to you, and you'll be able to use it in your survival kit. So there you have it, building your own survival kit. We've shown you some things, we've given you some indication of what is in survival kits, so it's down to you really. Have a think about what you would like in your survival kit, and then think about where you want that survival kit to be, in a tin can or in a bag, and then build it up. And you might want to build it over time, but think about it, build it, show us what you've done, post the challenge, and hopefully we'll get some prizes out to you. See you soon.